The Supreme Court on Friday nullified the judgment of Court of Appeal that ordered the federal government to release the embattled leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, from detention. Though the Apex Court, in a unanimous decision by a 5-member panel of justices, acknowledged that the federal government acted irresponsibly when it forcefully brought Kanu back to the country from Kenya against all known laws. However, it held that it was not enough to divest the trial court of its jurisdiction to continue with the case. It held that there is no legislation in the country that stripped the trial court of the jurisdiction to go ahead with Kanu's case, despite the illegal action that federal government took against him. In the judgments that was prepared by Justice Garba Mohammed but read by Justice Emmanuel Agim, the Apex Court held that the remedy open for Kanu was for him to institute a civil action against the government. The court, however, slammed federal government, saying it must be conscious of its image, both locally and internationally, even as it knocked the trial court for revoking Kanu's bail after he escaped to save his life following the invasion of his home by security agents. The IPOB leader, who was first arrested by security agents in Lagos on October 14, 2015, has been in detention since June 29, 2021. This is all looking good, really. It's all looking good. I, for one, thought that this was going to be a very good Christmas for Southeasterners who have been basking in the euphoria of some sort of the fact that there's a new government in town, and the new government will look at the facts on ground and maybe even present a pardon, pardon for him, so that we could have peace in the Southeast. The consul to Nnamdi Kanu has also spoken about this development. Let's listen to what he says. And we also picked up some interesting comments from people on social media.
We have a whole lot of non-lawyers here who came to court today to show or to demonstrate solidarity with Nnamdi Kanu. He's a distinguished senator representing his senatorial constituency. But you see, the ruling today was in part disappointing and in part satisfactory. A lot of people might say it's a bit ambiguous, so I'm going to speak very briefly so that I do not preempt what is going to come out of the registry of the court. We are going to promptly apply for certified true copies of what the justice stated in court today, but some things that he made clear were as follows. That number one, Nnamdi Kanu was enjoying his bail when his house was invaded, and that was wrong. If you recall, we had obtained a judgment in 2022 at the High Court in Abuja State, awarding him 1 billion. So this indirectly affirms that judgment. And that the manner of bringing him into Nigeria was also wrong. But despite all of that, the Supreme Court found cause to send this case back to the Federal High Court. And sending it back to the Federal High Court is actually called remission. And when they remit with instructions. We don't know yet what those instructions are because we don't have certified true copies of the judgment and the judgment order. So in days to come, that will be available and will be made available to the press.
Okay, please, when the judge said yes, appeal and cross appeal, what does it mean?
Well, if government appealed against the discharge granted by the Court of Appeal, and we cross appealed, okay, against the stay of execution granted by the Court of Appeal. So these were the issues. But what came out was that the revocation of his bail was wrong. So this, in fact, has created a basis to further seek his release, through some other means.
So the judge is saying that the trial should continue. What does it mean for your team now?
Well, basically, it's going to continue or it's going to proceed in accordance with the instructions the Supreme Court has issued. And those instructions will be clearer when we get them in writing. So the judge or the Federal High Court judge will have to be restricted within those. It's called a remission. So they have to carry out, the Federal High Court has to carry out the strict instructions of the Supreme Court.
Nigerian government had repatriated Mr. Kanu from Kenya after the Federal High Court in Abuja ordered the IPOB leader's arrest for jumping bail in 2017. Mr. Kanu was being tried before Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja for terrorism. The Court of Appeal in Abuja on October 13, 2022 dismissed the terrorism and treasonable felony charges filed against Mr. Kanu on the basis of his agitation for the secession of a Biafran republic comprising the 5 southeast states and parts of neighboring states from Nigeria. A 3-member panel of the appellate court led by Oludotun Adefope Okoji dismissed the terrorism and treasonable felony charges against Mr. Kanu. The court had ordered Mr. Kanu's release from detention after striking out a 7-count charge pending before Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja. Mr. Adefope held that Mr. Kanu's forced return from Kenya to Nigeria in June 2021 was a breach of local and international laws. But instead of complying with the appellate court's decision ordering Mr. Kanu's unconditional release, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation filed an appeal at the Supreme Court. The then AGF, Abubakar Malami, filed an application for a stay of execution of the Court of Appeal's verdict on the separatist leader. But on October 28, 2022, another 3-member panel of the Court of Appeal headed by Haruna Samani halted the execution of its judgment, which freed Mr. Kanu of terrorism charges. The government had applied that the execution of the judgment be suspended pending the resolution of its appeal filed by the Supreme Court. Mr. Samani, in the ruling, held that this counter-affidavit filed against the government application by Mr. Kanu's legal team, led by Mr. Ozekome, was misleading. Mr. Kanu has been leading secession campaigns of southeast regions, parts of South Nigeria for an independent state of Biafra. The federal government has been consistently blamed by IPOB separatist activities for the violence in the southeastern region. Mr. Kanu, the IPOB leader, has been in DSS detention since June 2021 when he was repatriated from Kenya to Nigeria. I appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much. See you next time.